My girlfriend once bragged to her friends that I was the most disgusting man she'd ever allowed to touch her, but that my bank balance made it barely tolerable. So, I did what any self-respecting man would. I drained our shared bank account, canceled our dream vacation, and left her with nothing but a neat little folder full of screenshots of everything she'd said behind my back. Now her parents won't stop calling, begging me to give her another chance. Apparently, she's out of options and has nowhere else to turn. Hey everyone, quick thing before we dive into the story, our channel's been slipping a bit lately, and if you've ever liked our content, the best way to support us is by subscribing. Seriously, it's fast, free, and helps us keep creating content you love. We appreciate every single one of you. Let's grow this thing together. Now on to the story. I'm a 36-year-old guy, and I met my girlfriend, Sienna, she's 32 now, at a dinner party about 6 years ago. It was one of those awkward house gatherings where the only person you know is the host. My buddy pretty much dragged me there, saying I needed to get out and live a little. Honestly, I wasn't feeling it. I was standing in the corner like someone had kicked my dog until this absolutely stunning woman walked up and asked, "Why do you look like you're mourning a crime scene?" That was her opening line. Weird, right? But funny. We hit it off almost immediately. We talked about travel, food, our favorite spots, just vibed. Numbers were exchanged and we started seeing each other soon after. She was witty, sharp, and had this easy charm. Conversations flowed naturally between us, no weird silences, no effort. She got my obscure movie quotes, I laughed at her dumb puns. It just worked. About 7 months in, we moved in together. My place was closer to both our jobs, so it just made sense. We'd been dating since the end of college and figured, why not? After we graduated, we just kept building on what I thought was a really strong relationship. I started my own system consulting company, not some huge corporation, just something I poured everything into and slowly built it into something real. All the while, I supported Sienna as she bounced between 3 different marketing gigs until she landed a role with a high-end fashion brand. Was I bringing in way more money? Yeah. I was clearing solid mid-6 figures and she was making around $78,000. But that never bothered me. I wasn't keeping score. We shared a condo, technically mine, combined our finances, and had this bucket list trip to Greece coming up. First-class flights. 5-star hotels. The whole luxury experience. I'd been saving for it for years because early on, like year 2, she told me she'd always dreamed of seeing Santorini. 3 years. I never forgot a birthday, anniversary, or even those just because moments. Her friends used to tease her about how spoiled she was. I was that guy always showing up, always doing the most. And even though our joint account said 50-50, let's be real, I was contributing closer to 60% of the total spend just to maintain the lifestyle she liked. Designer clothes. Spa weekends. Mini vacations. Stuff that looked great on Instagram. She used to joke it was part of building her personal brand, always with that cheeky little grin. Honestly, I didn't mind. I had the means, and seeing her happy made me feel like it was all worth it. Now, I'm not some model, but I keep myself in decent shape. Average height, thinning hair since my 20s, but I've never had trouble with women. Sienna, though? She was stunning. The kind of woman who made people turn their heads when she walked into a room. I remember my friend Dave pulling me aside the night we met and saying, "Bro, girls like that don't go for guys like us unless there's a catch." I told him to shut up. Now, 6 years later, I owe that man an apology and probably a bottle of whiskey. Because there were red flags and I just ignored them. Like the time we bumped into my old college roommate at this fancy restaurant. Sienna was all smiles at first, chatting him up until he mentioned he ran his own construction crew. Suddenly, she looked pale and claimed she wasn't feeling well. We left 20 minutes later. In the car, she casually commented that it was odd I hung out with people like that. I called her on it, and she tried to reframe it, said she meant people who were so different from me. I let it slide. There was also this moment at my parents' Christmas party, year 3. My mom asked when we were thinking about getting engaged, and Sienna launched into this whole speech about needing to hit career and financial milestones first. My mom gave me a weird look I didn't understand at the time, but now it makes a lot more sense. Also, here's something kind of insane. In 6 years together, not once, did she ever post a photo of me on her Instagram. This girl posted every single day. Her food, her gym selfies, her nights out with friends. But me, completely invisible. I asked her about it once, and she just said, "I like to keep my private life private." But apparently that didn't include every other aspect of her existence. Once, at a friend's wedding, she literally cropped me out of a group photo before uploading it. Said I looked tired. Yeah, okay. Thing is, I didn't really care about social media that much, so I didn't make a big deal about it. Maybe she really was private. I figured, as long as things were good between us in real life, who cares? We had our little rituals. Weekend breakfasts together. monthly planning talks. We'd sit around and vent about our jobs, laugh about dumb shows, make movie lists. Felt like a partnership. So I didn't think too hard about the other stuff. Around year 3, I started thinking about proposing. I even got my sister to help me pick the ring. Sienna had dropped plenty of hints about what she liked. Princess cut, white gold, classic but elegant. I found the perfect one. Plan was to propose during our Santorini trip. Sunset view, hidden photographer, fancy dinner afterward. The works. The ring is still in my drawer. Sometimes I open it and stare, thinking how close I came to blowing my entire life on someone who never really saw me. A couple months ago, I upgraded my home office with some new audio gear. I've been messing with music ever since college. Just a hobby, nothing serious. But when my business crushed it last quarter, I decided to splurge a bit. Bought studio-grade mics. Real stuff, not USB junk, XLR mics with a legit audio interface. Set one up in my office, another in the living room to test the sound difference in each space. This was the kind of stuff Sienna usually teased me about, called them my toys. But she sure didn't mind when those toys funded her last-minute spa weekends. Anyway, one night she had her girlfriends over while I was supposed to be out at a business dinner. The meeting ended early, but I didn't want to crash her night. So I shot her a text saying I was going out for drinks with coworkers. She texted back with hearts and thanked me for giving her space. I came home around midnight. Apartment was empty. Just a little note on the counter saying they'd gone to some bar downtown. I headed to the kitchen for a snack and noticed Alexa's ring glowing yellow. Normally I'd ignore it, but for some reason that night I didn't. But that night, I was bored and a little nosy. I remembered that I'd set up audio logging on our Alexa a few months back while testing out smart home integrations for a client project. I'd been trying to see how well Alexa synced with some custom automation routines. Completely forgot I left it on. One of those tech settings you turn on for work, then just never bother to disable. So I casually said, "Alexa, play the latest recording." Not expecting anything remotely interesting. Figured I'd hear myself asking about the weather or maybe setting a reminder to buy milk. The audio started playing through the kitchen speaker. First hour? Just normal background stuff. The TV humming, random giggling, someone saying, "Add almond milk to the grocery list." White noise. I was just about to say, "Alexa, stop," when I heard my name. "How's it going with Ethan?" one of them asked. That voice, I recognized it. Brielle. Brielle never liked me. Always had this stuck-up energy, like she was doing Sienna a favor just by tolerating me. Gave me these looks like I'd tracked mud into her designer shoes. Then Sienna laughed. But it wasn't her usual laugh. This one was different. Sharper. Cruel. Cold. "Sometimes," she said, "I look at him while he's sleeping and wonder how I ever let him touch me." I felt my stomach just drop. That sudden, sinking feeling. Like when you miss a stair in the dark and your whole body lurches. I just stood there, frozen. Alexa kept playing. "He's seriously the most repulsive man I've ever been with," Sienna said next. "The other night he tried to initiate and I had to fake like I was on my period to get out of it. First I thought maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe she was talking about someone else. Some other guy. But then one of the girls asked the question I was already thinking. Then why are you still with him? Sienna didn't even hesitate. Are you kidding? Have you seen the way he lives? The guy's got close to $1 million in investments. We're going to Greece next month. First class all the way. 5-star hotels. Do you know how nice it is to never have to worry about money? 7 years. 7 damn years together, and to her I was just a walking ATM. 7 years I thought we were building something real. I thought she appreciated my loyalty, my sense of humor, the way I always had her back. Nope. I was just a calculated trade-off. She'd done the math and decided I was worth tolerating barely, if it meant she got to live comfortably. I sat down at the counter, staring into nothing, while Alexa kept spilling my whole relationship in 4K clarity. Then I heard another voice, Tara, I think. She was the only one of Sienna's friends who ever seemed genuine. Always asked how my business was doing. Actually cared about my answers, or at least pretended well enough. But is it really worth it? Tara asked. Sienna chuckled. It's almost worth the suffering. I've got a system now. I give him what he wants once a month, like clockwork. The rest of the time I get my peace and my financial security. And he's so desperate for any kind of affection that he thinks I'm the best girlfriend ever. Honestly, it's easy. And they all laughed. Even Tara. That moment hit harder than any punch. 7 years and she had it down to a science how to manage physical contact with me like I was a chore she scheduled into her planner. Like I was some disgusting job she had to do to keep her luxury perks. Then someone brought up a guy from her gym. I couldn't tell who asked, but they mentioned him by name, Cameron. "Oh my god, Cameron is so hot," Sienna said, giddy. "We've been texting for weeks. He wants to hang out this weekend." "What about Ethan?" one of them asked. Sienna snorted. "He's got that business trip to Seattle. He'll never know. Besides, a girl's got needs." More laughter. The problem? That Seattle trip? I canceled it 2 weeks ago and told her I wasn't going. She knew. Which meant she was planning to hook up with this guy while pretending I was out of town. They kept talking, switching gears like nothing happened. Started chatting about some new downtown club, then fashion trends, then what trashy reality show they were watching. The rest of the recording was another 20 minutes of harmless gossip. Normal friend stuff. But all I could think about was how casually they dissected my life. My relationship. Like it was a side dish in their conversation. Like my dignity was a meme they passed around for laughs. I sat there in silence for an hour after it ended. Numb. 7 years of paying off her student debt. 7 years of upgrades, new laptop, new phone, new wardrobe. 7 years of covering rent when she got laid off, of picking up the slack, of believing we were working toward a shared future. The next morning I didn't say a word. I acted like everything was normal. Didn't sleep at all. Just laid there in bed, watching her sleep beside me, wondering how I'd ever missed it. It's wild how different someone looks when you finally see them clearly. When the mask drops and you realize the person you loved never really existed. Not for you anyway. Alarm went off. She got ready like usual. I kissed her on the forehead and told her I loved her. She smiled back. That same fake smile I'd seen 1,000 times. Only now I knew what it meant. As soon as the door shut behind her, I got to work. I didn't have time to feel sorry for myself. That part could come later. Right now? I needed to protect myself and take my damn life back. First, I backed up every single text message from the past 6 years. Used an app to archive the entire thread. Every "I love you," every "sweet nothing." Every "you're the best thing that's ever happened to me." All saved. All timestamped. Then I started going through emails. Pulled up every selfie she'd sent while traveling, photos with captions like "missing you already" and "wish you were here." Dug up the long emails she wrote during that 2-week London work trip where she poured out her heart about how much she valued our relationship. All of it? Lies. But now documented. Next, I made a spreadsheet, yeah, a literal spreadsheet of every single gift, trip, upgrade, or luxury I'd paid for over the years. The total came out to just over $98,000 above our regular shared expenses. The Audi lease. That Aspen ski trip. Napa Valley weekend getaway. The designer bag she cried over on her birthday. The brand new MacBook. The iPhone upgrade because hers looked unprofessional. The spa memberships. I'd basically handed over a house deposit to a woman who thought I was disgusting. That realization hit like a truck. I could have owned property by now if I hadn't been bankrolling her curated Instagram life. Went over our shared credit card statements next. Saw a pattern clear as day. She'd charge small, couple-wide things to our joint card, lunches, date nights, movie tickets, stuff that made it look like we were splitting costs. But the big spending sprees? Always on days when she knew I'd be in client meetings. Like the $1,700 blowout at Nordstrom just 2 weeks back. I'd been locked in a day-long strategy session with my biggest client. She texted me sweet little messages all day, "So proud of you, hope the meeting's going well, can't wait to hear about it." Meanwhile, she was racking up a 4-figure bill on designer clothes I never even saw. That morning, I called the bank and moved every cent from my personal savings into a brand new account at a completely different bank. No way was I taking chances with her getting access to my main accounts. When the banker asked if everything was all right, I just said I was reorganizing my finances. Technically, that wasn't a lie. Next, I called the travel agency and canceled our Greece trip. Managed to get $15,600 refunded out of the $10,000 I'd already dropped. The refund went straight into my new bank account. The agent seemed confused. "But wasn't this supposed to be your engagement trip?" she asked. That hit harder than I expected. Turns out Sienna had mentioned I might propose when confirming the itinerary last week. Probably already had an Instagram caption drafted and a ring reveal idea lined up. Unbelievable. I contacted my lawyer about clearing out our joint account. He advised leaving half, so I did, right down to the cent, $7,210.41 each. I took screenshots of the transaction for the file I was building. Then I got to work on the physical cleanup. Room by room, I went through the condo, separating her things from mine. I didn't trash anything, didn't break a single item. Everything was folded neatly, packed with care into boxes and suitcases. This wasn't revenge. It was precision. I found the Tiffany bracelet I gave her for our 3rd anniversary. She'd always claimed it was her favorite but only wore it twice. I put it back in its original case and added it to her pile. I discovered other stuff I'd forgotten I even bought, like that $1,100 anniversary bracelet she never really touched, designer sunglasses still in the box, and a high-end camera she used once for a weekend getaway. All packed and labeled. Then I stumbled onto something I wasn't prepared for: hotel receipts. 3 separate stays at the same boutique hotel downtown, all tied to dates when she claimed to be at work conferences. I wasn't about to go full private investigator and find out who she'd been seeing. At that point, I didn't care. I added the receipts to my growing documentation. In the back of her drawer, I found lingerie sets I'd never seen her wear. Some of it looked brand new. She used to say that stuff was too uncomfortable. I guess it just didn't feel right with me. Tucked inside her desk drawer, I found something that made my jaw tighten: a list of her personal financial goals. Right at the top, secure access to 40% of ease investments by 2020. Yeah, she'd been playing the long game. I wouldn't be surprised if she'd been quietly researching common law marriage laws. While going through our old photos, I noticed something else. The number of pictures with both of us in them dropped year after year. In the beginning, we had hundreds. By last year? Maybe 10. And most of those were taken at events where it would have looked odd if we didn't pose together. By 6 p.m., everything of hers was boxed up. 7 years of a relationship, and it all fit into 4 suitcases, 6 labeled boxes, and 2 trash bags of miscellaneous stuff. I labeled it all: clothes, shoes, toiletries. Even wrapped the breakables in bubble wrap. Again, this wasn't about destroying anything. Not yet anyway. Then I created a document. First page? A transcript of what she'd said in that Alexa recording. Next pages? Screenshots of her texts professing love, missing me, telling me I was the best thing in her life. Photos she'd sent while traveling. Emails from that London trip last year where she gushed about our future together. Then I laid out the numbers. Bank statements showing who really paid for what. Her share versus mine. Spoiler, it was never close. I included those hotel receipts. Credit card statements. The spreadsheet of all the gifts, vacations, tech upgrades, and other extras I covered. I highlighted the goal sheet where she planned to get half my investments. No comments. No name calling. Just pure, cold facts. The truth printed in black and white. I left the printed document right on the kitchen counter. My condo key and the garage remote sat neatly on top. And then, just like that, I walked out of the place we'd shared for over 4 years and checked into a hotel. Driving away, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: light. Like I'd finally dropped a 144-pound weight off my shoulders. I knew things were going to get messy. That was fine. For the first time in a long while, I was thinking clearly. I'd muted her notifications, but my phone still buzzed nonstop the entire drive. When I finally got to the hotel and checked, I had 19 missed calls. 21 texts, some confused, some furious, some begging. 3 voicemails, each one sounding more desperate than the last. I ignored them all, except one. I can explain. It wasn't what it sounded like. Please come home. I didn't answer. Just left her on read. Then I ordered room service, poured myself a stiff drink, and for the first time in what felt like forever, made plans that didn't revolve around anyone else's wants but mine. The next day, her dad called me. I've always respected the man. Blue-collar guy. Worked his whole life to support 3 daughters on a maintenance worker's salary. He sounded shocked. Hurt. Asked me what the hell had happened. I didn't rant. Didn't accuse. I just emailed him the file. No notes. No explanations. Just facts. An hour later, he called back. The anger was gone. Just disappointment and regret in his voice. I didn't raise her to be like this, he said. I know you didn't, I told him. This isn't on you. That was 2 weeks ago. Things have escalated since. Sienna got kicked out of a friend's apartment after overstaying her welcome. Apparently, she played the victim so hard that the friend's boyfriend finally snapped and said enough was enough. Her parents' house is tiny, just 2 bedrooms, and both of her sisters already live there with their kids. There's no space for her. She can't afford her own apartment, not in the neighborhood she's used to, not with her spending habits. I've been getting updates from mutual friends. Sienna had to sell off a few of her designer bags just to afford first and last month's rent on a studio in a part of town she once called sketchy. Now she's telling people I kicked her out without warning. But once folks saw the document, that sob story didn't hold up so well. The reactions went from sympathy to awkward silence real quick. Lately, her parents have been calling again, this time with a different tone. Saying she's learned her lesson. That she's genuinely sorry. That she knows what she lost and just needs one more chance. Total 165 from her dad's first reaction. It's obvious what's happening. Pressure from her family. Her own desperation. They're trying anything now. Honestly, I feel bad for her dad. The guy's stuck between knowing his daughter screwed up and wanting to help her anyway. That's what parents do, I guess. Her mom even called yesterday. She made a mistake saying those things, she told me. But you can't throw away 3 years over just words. Just words? You mean the part where she calculated how much physical intimacy she had to trade to maintain access to my money? You mean the system she proudly explained to her friends? No. Those weren't just words. Just words. As if words don't reveal exactly what someone really thinks. As if you can claim to love someone while secretly finding them disgusting. I didn't argue with her mom. Didn't see the point. I just said, I hope Sienna finds whatever it is she's looking for, and hung up the phone. 5 days ago, I finally answered one of Sienna's calls. She was crying full-on breakdown mode, asking where she was supposed to go, what she was supposed to do, how she was going to make her car payment. The same car I helped her choose. The one I covered twice when she blew her budget on shopping sprees. All I said was, sounds like a question for that guy at your gym you've been flirting with, and I ended the call. Changed the locks that afternoon. Blocked her on every platform. And honestly, I'm seriously considering moving. Yeah, the condo feels empty now, but at least it's an honest kind of empty. Not filled with pretty furniture and uglier lies. I started reading through old texts from friends, messages where they gently hinted that maybe Sienna was a bit high maintenance or subtly asked if I really felt happy. Hints I brushed off. I was too caught up in the thrill of dating someone who looked like a supermodel to see what was staring me in the face. About a month later, she went full panic mode. Daily deliveries started showing up, flowers, handwritten letters, even a playlist of our songs. I returned every single thing unopened. Didn't respond to a word. Then she showed up at my office building. Tried to corner me as I was leaving. Security had to walk her out when she refused to leave the lobby. The look on the security guard's face said it all. He knew exactly what kind of mess I was dealing with. That look was both strangely comforting and deeply humiliating. Her parents kept calling until I blocked them too. Her dad's last voicemail, though, that one hit a little differently. I know what she did was wrong, he said, but she's my daughter. I have to try. And I respect that. I do. He's doing what a father should. But I'm doing what a man with self-respect has to do. And those two things don't cancel each other out, they just exist on opposite sides of the same situation. Eventually, Sienna showed up with a moving truck to grab the last of her stuff. I had everything boxed and labeled in the garage so we wouldn't have to interact. My brother was there to oversee the handoff, just in case. She tried to hand him a letter to give to me, he politely but firmly said no. According to him, she spent most of the time trying to manipulate him into playing middleman. Your brother and I had something special, she told him. To which he replied, yeah. A one-sided transaction. Last weekend? Things got weird. I was out having coffee with my sister when 3 of Sienna's old friends, yep, those friends from the Alexa recording, walked up to our table. It was clearly planned. Brielle, the ringleader, plopped herself down uninvited and started this awkward semi-apology. Yeah, what Sienna said was awful, she began, but we were drinking. You know how girls talk. She doesn't really think that way. She loves you. My sister, never one to filter herself, jumped in immediately. If that's how you talk about someone you love, I'd hate to hear what you say about people you don't. Brielle tried again. Look, Sienna made a mistake, but she's suffering. She had to move in with her cousin 2 hours away. She's commuting 3 hours every day. She's miserable. That's when I finally spoke up. No, she's suffering because she spent 3 years using me for financial security while being disgusted by me. Girls' night just revealed the truth. That wasn't a mistake. That was who she really was. Another one chimed in, she was just venting. My sister actually laughed. Venting is when you complain about your boyfriend leaving socks on the floor, not when you lay out a strategy to minimize sex while maximizing his bank account. That's not venting. That's a business pitch. They left after that, but Brielle tossed one last thing over her shoulder as they walked off. She didn't realize what she had until she lost it. Doesn't that count for something? I've been chewing on that question ever since. Does realizing you lost something precious suddenly mean you deserve to have it back? If you only value a person after they walk away, did you ever truly value them, or just what they did for you? My answer? Regret born from loss isn't love. It's just regret. And regret isn't a strong enough foundation to rebuild anything worth having. The weeks after the breakup were rough. Not gonna lie. The hardest part? The weekends. Suddenly, I had all this free time and no one to spend it with. I realized I'd spent so long shaping my life around Sienna's wants and preferences that I forgot what I liked to do. So I made a list. Stuff I used to enjoy before I met her. Hiking, mountain biking, playing guitar, gaming with my old college buddies. And one by one, I started doing them again. Deleted all the dating apps after one too many terrible coffee dates. Decided I wasn't ready. Needed to get my own head right before dragging someone else into the mix. I started hitting the gym, not because I wanted to win her back or go on some post-breakup glow-up spree, but because I felt like crap and I wanted to feel better. Dropped 29 pounds so far. Still balding, but at least I've got some decent muscle tone now. I reconnected with old friends I'd pulled away from during the Sienna years. Good guys. Some of them she called immature or beneath our image. Turns out they're the same loyal friends they always were. One of them admitted he never liked Sienna. She looked at you like an investment, he said. Not like a partner. And man, it's wild how clear things become when you're not blinded by lust, ego, or the rush of dating someone who looks like she belongs on a magazine cover. Yeah? It's been 6 months since the breakup and everything's different. Sold the condo after 3 months on the market. Made a solid profit even with the slow closing. Took the money and relocated to a smaller city Sienna once vetoed as too boring. Turns out I love the quiet. I love the trees, the space, the peace. Bought a house with a huge yard. Converted the basement into a home studio. I'm making music again, just for fun, just for me. Sienna used to roll her eyes at that. Called it my cute little hobby. But it brings me joy. And that's reason enough. My business is booming. I've hired 2 employees to help with the growing workload. Taken on clients I used to turn down because Sienna hated when I traveled too much. Funny, huh? I gave up income and growth to please someone who found me repulsive but happily spent the money anyway. Now I've got new partnerships. Bigger contracts. And I'm finally building something real without guilt, without stress. I even got a rescue puppy, named him Ranger. Best decision I've made in years. He's still clumsy and steals my socks, but he's got a good heart. He's loyal. He's happy just being near me. And that's more than I ever got from a woman I spent years trying to impress. Used part of the condo money to pay off my parents' mortgage. That was something I'd always wanted to do but held off on because Sienna said helping them was enabling bad financial habits. I see now she didn't just drain my wallet. She tried to shrink my world. But I've got it back now. And it's bigger and better than ever. Just words. As if words don't tell you exactly how someone really feels. As if you can call it love while secretly being repulsed by the person next to you. I didn't bother arguing with her mom. There was nothing to gain from it. I just said I hope Sienna finds whatever she's after and hung up. 5 days ago, I finally picked up one of Sienna's calls. She was crying, completely falling apart, asking where she was supposed to live, what she was supposed to do now, how she was going to pay for her car. The same car I helped her choose. The same one I covered payments for twice when she'd maxed herself out shopping. All I said was, maybe ask that guy at your gym you've been texting, and ended the call. That afternoon, I changed the locks. Blocked her on everything. Honestly, I've been thinking about moving altogether. The condo feels empty now, yeah, but at least it's an honest kind of empty. No more beautiful space filled with ugly secrets. I started rereading old messages from friends, ones where they tried to gently nudge me awake. Comments about Sienna seeming a bit high maintenance. Questions like, is she really good for you? All things I brushed off, too wrapped up in the fantasy of having a stunning girlfriend to see what was right in front of me. A month later, the desperation kicked in on her end. She went all out, daily deliveries. Bouquets. Handwritten notes. A playlist of our songs. I returned it all untouched. Didn't reply. Not a word. Then she tried ambushing me outside my office. Waited for me in the lobby. Security had to walk her out when she refused to leave. The look the security guy gave me? That been there, brother look? It was both strangely comforting and totally humiliating at the same time. Her parents kept calling too. I ignored them until I finally blocked the number. But her dad's final voicemail stuck with me. I know she messed up, he said. But she's my daughter. I have to try. I get it. I really do. That's what dads are supposed to do, fight for their kids. But I'm doing what I have to do, what a man with boundaries has to do. And those two things don't cancel each other out. They just don't cross paths anymore. Eventually, Sienna came by with a moving truck to collect what was left of her stuff. I boxed it all up in the garage. Labeled. Neat. No contact needed. My brother was there to oversee things, just in case. She tried to hand him a letter for me, he politely shut it down. Apparently, she spent the whole time trying to guilt him into pleading her case. Your brother and I had something special, she told him. His answer? Yeah. A one-sided transaction. And then last weekend, it got weirder. I was out grabbing coffee with my sister when 3 of Sienna's friends, the same ones from that Alexa recording, suddenly showed up. It was clearly a planned ambush. Brielle, the one who always acted like she was in charge, sat down without even asking and started her little performance. Yeah, what Sienna said was terrible, she started, but we'd been drinking. Girls say things. She didn't mean it. She loves you. My sister, who's never had a filter, cut her off immediately. If that's how she talks about people she loves, I'd hate to hear what she says about people she doesn't. Brielle tried again. Look, Sienna made a mistake. But she's miserable now. She had to move in with her cousin, 2 hours away. She commutes 3 hours a day. She's suffering. That's when I finally spoke up. No, she's not suffering because of the breakup. She's suffering because she spent 3 years treating me like a debit card while secretly being disgusted by me. That girl's night didn't cause anything, it just exposed it. Another friend chimed in, she was just venting. My sister laughed out loud. Venting is, he never takes out the trash, not, I ration out intimacy once a month to keep the cash flowing. That's not venting. That's a business strategy. They left after that. But not before Brielle threw out one last line over her shoulder. She didn't appreciate what she had until she lost it. Doesn't that mean anything? I've thought about that a lot. Is realizing you lost something valuable enough to deserve a second chance? If you only start to value a person after they walk away, did you ever really value them at all? Or just what they gave you? Here's my answer. Regret isn't love. And regret alone isn't a foundation you can rebuild anything stable on. The weeks after the split? They were rough. Especially the weekends. I had all this time suddenly and no one to share it with. I realized just how much of my life I'd shaped around Sienna's schedule, her tastes, her moods, and forgotten what I actually liked. So I sat down and made a list. Hiking, mountain biking, guitar, gaming with my college buddies. Stuff I used to love before I became Sienna's boyfriend. And one by one, I started doing it again. Deleted the dating apps after a string of bad dates. I wasn't ready. I needed to get right with myself first. Started going to the gym. Not to win anyone back, not for a revenge body, but because I'd let myself go. I was tired all the time. I felt awful. Dropped 29 pounds so far. Still bald, but at least I've got some muscle again. I reconnected with old friends. Guys I'd lost touch with because Sienna said they were immature or didn't fit our image. Turns out, they're still the same loyal guys they always were. One of them pulled me aside and said, "Man, I never liked her. She treated you like a portfolio, not a partner." It's wild how clearly everyone else can see the truth when you're too deep in denial to recognize it. Now it's been 6 months. Life is radically different. Sold the condo after 3 months on the market. Got a great price even with a slow close. Took the profit and relocated to a smaller city. One Sienna once mocked as too boring. Turns out I love it here. Quiet mornings, fresh air, trees everywhere. No constant noise. I bought a house with a big yard. Converted the basement into a music studio. I'm making tracks again on the weekends, not for money, just because it makes me happy. Sienna always called it my little hobby. Rolled her eyes every time I mentioned it. Doesn't matter. I like it. My business? Better than ever. I hired 2 new employees to keep up with the work. Took on contracts I used to decline because Sienna didn't like me traveling too much. Funny how I used to limit my own income to keep someone comfortable who couldn't stand to touch me, but never hesitated to spend what I made. Now I've got new clients, better projects, more control, and no guilt. I also adopted a rescue pup, named him Ranger. Best call I've made in years. He's goofy, clumsy, and obsessed with stealing my socks, but he's loyal. He's always happy to see me, and that's more than I can say for a woman I spent years bending over backwards to impress. I even used some of the condo sale money to pay off my parents' mortgage. That had been on my list for a while, but I held off because Sienna once told me it was enabling bad financial choices. Now I realize she wasn't just draining my savings. She was shrinking my entire life, bit by bit. But I've taken it back. And this life I'm building now? It's quieter, it's simpler, but it's real. And it's finally mine.